All right, what's up, everyone? Tom Brady, joined by Mike Hollow here. What's going on, Mike?
Bro, I got home from work. I checked my comment section, and everyone's just laughing at these skins.
Yeah,
It's actually quite hilarious to see how badly received they've been.
I didn't notice this until I logged in this morning. I said, "Yeah, I haven't turned it on forever, but let me go ahead and log in and see the new content." And it was laughable to even really consider something like this to be considered "quote unquote" new content, so to speak. But neither here nor there. So I guess before the combat cast, you and I had a conversation,
Mm, yeah.
and in which we both said, "Listen, we're not here to blow them up. Like whatever it is, they can still try to turn it around. And if even if they don't give us everything that we think should be in the game,
Yeah.
we will still praise them if they're going the right direction."
Yeah.
So I guess let's start off with the combat cast, like how you really felt about all this.
Well, the video on there is about 44 minutes, but it's actually only half an hour. And of that half an hour, they spend about, I'd say 15 minutes of it talking about shit nobody cares about. I have ragged on Derek for the longest time about birthday shoutouts. It doesn't seem like they are listening or paying attention to anyone, which is weird to me because the trailers for Mortal Kombat games get millions of views, right? But the combat cast gets about 100, 200,000, which would tell me that the people that are watching it are the players that are really tuned into the competitive scene or tuned into what's going on with like the balance and the crossplay situation and basically everything that's going on online, which would make me think that they're aware that the audience is the more hardcore or intermediate to hardcore scene. So it's not that I want them to change it for my benefit. It's just that everybody, I thought I was the only one at first. And when I brought it up in my videos, a lot of people were like, yeah, we just don't get why they're doing birthday showers. And it might seem like a petty thing to bring up. But after Tekken Talk put on an hour long panel of them talking to us, whether people liked the microtransaction stuff or not. It was an hour of them talking to us about Tekken and its future and showing us a roadmap. And then you get the combat cast where it's barely any time on gameplay, maybe like 10, 11 minutes. The rest is spent on invasions, goofing around, showing us shit we don't care about, and then birthday showers. So for me, it was a massive letdown. It was a dud. I thought that given all of the negative feedback, they were going to come in with something massive and blow us away. And even down to the gameplay changes, like the balance changes, I've gone through the list as well, which we'll probably go through in a bit more depth later on. But it's very, very underwhelming. So I wasn't impressed.
I started off thinking I was optimistic. Like I honestly thought we would do this discussion and it would be something where they turned it around at least slightly. Like their game, the combat cast has kind of been its own in its own league. It's never run unopposed. There has never been like a Tekken talk or anything like that. So sometimes when there's nothing that challenges you, when you are the only thing of your kind, you kind of get complacent and it gets sloppy. So now, especially after Tekken talk and the feedback of that, I thought for sure now that they have something to compare it to and they see how well their competition is doing, surely they'll at least attempt to change how things are done and step it up at least a little bit. And that didn't happen at all. From the very beginning,
Yeah.
it was as if they were in a room closed off and they had no idea what was happening in the planet around them as to what's being said about the game. It was business as usual. And when Tyler Lansdowne basically, as casually as possible, said, "Hey, by the way, Crossplay's coming." So something everyone was waiting for, and Crossplay's coming, and he goes, and it's coming to, ranked and casual and, private match, completely glosses over that it's not in King of the Helm. Doesn't
Yeah.
even talk about when it's going to happen. They tried to get it to go, nothing. He's like, so there you go, good news. Not even addressing the unfortunate bad news part of it, which I guess we'll get to here in a second.
Yeah.
And then they move on to the balance changes. The only thing they mentioned in the he said, now let's go into some other changes. None of it really had to do with anything meaningful in gameplay except for the Kenshi changes. Those were barely anything at all, which I guess that's all there really is to talk about.
Yep.
And there's not much there at all to begin with. And then they go to invasions. And the part where Derek is going over invasions is longer than the part about the crossplay and here are the changes and everything like that. So it's even longer than that, which again, do they not understand that nobody likes invasions. And they still went over it. Season of the Huntress, he went over how cool. Now you can tell they are trying to make it less agonizing because they are trying to make it so you don't have to grind it as much. I see they are trying to make it less of a grind, but they could have just said that. They could have touched more. All that stuff could have been in the patch notes, and they could have just moved on to something else. And then they went on to Peacemaker, and then Janet Cage. And then at the very end, where they could at least have addressed, like, hey, look, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do that, we have things in the works. No, they did another, I guess what used to be known as the belt match between Derek and Tyler Lansdowne. And then it was over.
Yep.
And then it was just, when you compare it to the competition, who spent a little bit of time talking about the Cash App, you can tell they already knew when the Cash App is coming, there's going to be talk about this, right? They addressed it, already let you know in advance what you're going to be paying. You're not going to be paying $10 for it. So you had an idea of a price point that you're not going to be price gouged. And I myself don't mind paying for extra things that I like in a game that I already think is complete. And I have faith that what I'm spending my money on will go to further development on the game in the future. Yeah. And the price was reasonable for what I expect in the future from the game and from what I have seen where I believe it's going to go. And then they went right into, like, Eddie Gordo and addressed other issues that the community was talking about. And it was just very informative, and you can tell they had a good pulse on the community.
That's what I really liked about Tech and Talk. Even if you don't agree with their decisions, they told us what they were doing. They gave us a roadmap, and then they gave us their justification for why they think they should be doing it. So, like, you can have your gripes with that, but the point is that they communicate to you. Tyler sat there, announced crossplay, and glazed over King of the Hill. And I sat there for a second. I was like, did I mishear that? Did I miss that out or something? And it took me a second. I was like, let me watch it back, and then let me check what other people are saying online in case I'm getting it wrong, because I don't want to upload like misinformation. But no, he just completely ignored it, ignored the Twitter beef, and then had the nerve to come out and say, we're on Twitter, we're paying attention, so send us over your queries or whatever. And I was sitting and I was like, am I on Earth 2 or something? How can he say that with a straight face?
Because they don't answer on Twitter. They go radio silent. So to say, hey, we're always listening, there is not a single indication that says they're listening. And
None.
And if anyone wants to make the argument that they don't know what's going on, they don't pay attention, they're too busy, the comments were turned off. I caught a quick second of the stream. And in the stream, people were saying on Twitch, why are the YouTube comments turned off on YouTube? So they are fully aware.
They always turned off.
Yeah.
It's always been a thing that have they always turned them off? Because I brought that up in my video.
Have they always turned them off?
Yeah, some people were saying that they've always been turned off because of the potential negative attention that Stephanie might get, and that was the reason why they had turned them off. I was under the impression that the Combat Cast used to have the comment section on, but maybe I was just imagining that. But even then, they should have had them on because people want to talk to them, and they're not acknowledging anything. The fact that they spent that long talking about invasions, and Derek was talking to 10 people, and 7 of them probably work at NRS. One of them's probably some content creator here that can't stop glazing Mortal Kombat. I don't know why they keep on bringing it up. I understand they've put the mode in the game, but there's so many glaring issues with this, and they know what audience is watching the Combat Cast. They know it's not the casual audience and the wider player base, it's the more tuned in ones. And for them to do a run-of-the-mill Combat Cast like nothing happened, to me, I was like, these guys have sticks up their bums. They just don't care. They have no interest in engaging.
And it's like they have no pulse on the community, which is a huge problem. And again, like you said, so much time is spent on invasions and a title match between Derek and Tyler. I mean, and if people want to try to say, well, they don't have time to really answer requests or whatever, if you have that much time to run through invasions and then have us watch a title match, none of that can be put aside or shortened to address like a lot of the concerns of people. Because besides the crossplay, I mean, I guess we'll talk about the patch going forward because there's more stuff but the Combat Cast, I felt like it was the complete letdown whatsoever. They are They are intentionally playing stupid.
Yeah,
Intentionally. Which
definitely.
is an insult of the intelligence of anyone who paid $1 for this game.
And I don't want to I don't want to do the whole thing where we point the finger at WB. I think it's high time that we start pointing some of that finger at NRS. Like this was their thing. They constructed the combat cast, and they just did it like they always did.
Yeah,
Like, because
Warner Brothers is
everyone's
not.
cop out is always, oh, Warner Brothers told us it, Warner Brothers told us it. But at what point are we going to be like, listen, like, when are we not going to blame these guys as well? Even the way they were behaving on camera, the way Derek was behaving, like, not to be horrible to them because I don't know them as people, but if you're running a business and your customers are upset, surely you should do something. They didn't even have to necessarily address us directly if they didn't want to talk about it negatively, but they could have come out of a combat cast and made us all go, oh, okay, there's a lot of changes coming. They're not addressing us directly, but they've made changes that make me know, let me know that they've been paying attention. But they didn't do that either.
No, and really, what really upsets me is that when people pass that buck on to, oh, it's not their fault at NetherRealm, they're helpless victims with their hands tied. Warner Brothers does not mandate they do. All Warner Brothers says is, we require you to put out a game within this much time, within this time period, and we require X amount of extra content for sale within this time period. How they go about doing it or presenting it is completely up to them. All Warner
Yeah.
Brothers says is this must be available to be sold by this date. That's it. And that's all they do. So it's not a Warner Brothers thing anymore. Warner Brothers gets way too much of the blame here. And when people talk about money in Warner Brothers, listen, I'll be honest with you. If I was someone at Warner Brothers and I saw this game, I wouldn't put $1 into it either. Yeah,
Yeah.
so, but I guess moving on, the patch then went ahead and dropped. And so even the night of, people realized the word started to get around that crossplay is not going to be in the game. You know, as far as it's not going to be done properly with King of the Hill. Now, what's ironic is I originally gave them too much credit. When last we spoke, I said it will probably be just in King of the Hill, which is still good for the online tournaments, but it won't be in ranked and whatever. Because surely they realize if they had to prioritize one, it would be getting crossplay into King of the Hill. Because
Yeah. Ranked in King of the Hill.
yes, because priority one is King of the Hill before anything else. Because you have, since the game came out, you have these, you know, every game has got their tournament series. We have Rips Arena, Champions of the Realm, the Coliseum, Tampa Never Sleeps. Now, these are primarily done on PlayStation because PS5 represents probably the majority of the competitive audience for Mortal Kombat 1. So, because of this, you have players on PC and Xbox who have never been able to partake in one of these leagues. And
Yeah.
the reason why leagues, maybe they might have a tournament that's a one-off specifically for their platform, but if it's a league, they have to cater to the majority. So you have a lot of these players on on Xbox, I should say, and PC, that are been waiting to finally be able to compete in the same events that everybody else has been, and they don't get anything. And to make matters worse, even though there is an uproar from certain tournament organizers, for the community to still gloss over this and say, oh, they said it's coming soon. In a tweet, not even publicly like on the Combat Cast, in a tweet, oh yeah, by the way, that crossplay thing, that's coming soon to here. It's coming soon. And my problem with this is, what do they mean coming soon? You have practice mode that's not even in the game yet or in ranked, and it's quote unquote coming soon. And this game is about to be 6 months out this month in March. So 6 months in, practice mode is still coming soon. It's not even possible to be done in ranked. That's not even coded in. Crossplay for King of the Hill could take 2, 3, 4 months for all we know. Coming soon, no date.
Yeah.
It is the biggest blunder, I think, in the history of that studio. To continue to alienate your offline tournament scene. People have been talking constantly. There's no money in it. Nobody wants to travel for this game because it's not good enough for them to even want to travel. So the online scene is all they really have to keep some life into this game. And NRS just crushed it, just like that.
I'm a bit perplexed as to I don't understand their logic. Like I just don't understand why they would take time out to do it for everything but King of the Hill. And I saw some people, to acknowledge some of the people in my comment section was saying that it's only really a minority of people that care about King of the Hill. But I don't believe that's the case. I think the top priorities for crossplay in any fighting game is going to be the place where you gather with your friends and the place where you rank up, and then everything else can be secondary. And the fact that King of the Hill is one of the like premier features of Mortal Kombat in terms of like playing online, and it's been completely glazed over, and just the manner in which they did it, it was their behavior on the combat cast that annoyed me more than anything. Because I think that when your audience acts a certain way, you should respond in kind, and it was like they were pretending, like you said, they were pretending nothing had happened, and then to just tweet it out afterwards was a bit like this is exactly what happened last time. They're gonna go radio silent now. Crossplay to King of the Hill will probably get here in 2025 or whenever they feel like getting around to it. They'll keep on updating invasions like everyone gives a shit about invasions. These keep talking about talisman. I don't even know what the hell the talisman is. I don't know what Derek was going on about or what he was so giddy over. And it will be business as usual. We'll be right back here when who is it? Is it Ermac that's coming out next? We'll be right back here when Ermac drops, and it'll be the exact same thing because they're not paying attention.
Yeah, and really when I saw that, I was thinking, how could this be possible? And what really concerned me was the question always gets raised: how is this possible? And I want to weigh in on this more, but just very quickly, keep in mind Mortal Kombat 11 was crushed constantly, right?
Yeah.
But it sold 15 million copies. That is how it got here. The message is you can keep doing what you're doing and nothing will change. In fact, you will continue to profit. NRS has failed up.
Yeah.
Basically,
up the stairs.
They have failed. They tripped up the stairs. And if this were to happen in Street Fighter or Tekken, for any one of those two games to launch without crossplay, and then when they added to do this, they would be massacred. Massacred. In fact, the Mortal Kombat community that has the biggest little brother complex, they're so tired of Tekken and Street Fighter rubbing them on the top of the head like, good job, little brother. You have 10 people show up while we have 500. You have, 700 while we have 7,000. They are so busy to puff their chest out, they have been beating their chest. Look at our sales, because they can't brag about anything else, right? Look at our sales. Nobody sells like Mortal Kombat does. That when they blunder, all their content creators come out and they say, this is amazing, the game is saved. How could you make a mistake like this? And the feedback is, the game is saved. That is why you can create the worst game ever and it sell 15 million copies, and you can then follow up with this disaster, and even though Tekken will surpass it by a wide margin, I believe, it's still going to sell so much that it is a massive success.
Yeah.
This is how you continue to fail up. And then the next game is going to come out and they're going to wonder, how could they keep doing this?
But on the topic of sales, before we move on to anything, I am always flabbergasted at the people that bring that up as a talking point, because I never understand what it does for them or the game. Like telling us constantly, oh well, Mortal Kombat sells well, so get over it. It's just like, okay, so you're just happy with receiving shit then. If Call of Duty continuously sells well every year, does that mean that they can just get away with providing us rubbish? Look at all of these sports games that come out every year. Even some of the WWE games, they don't have the quality of like Here Comes the Pain or those games from back in the day. And they may sell well, but I don't know why someone as a fan would bring that up as a talking point, as if that does them any favors. First of all, Warner Brothers and NetherRealm are not writing you guys any checks, so I don't know why you keep on saying it. Secondly, it doesn't do anything for the game. If anything, critiquing the game and trying to bring awareness to the problems it has is what you should be doing so you can get a better product next time. You don't just glaze them every single time they do something for you. And to be honest with you, they're not really doing anything. So the topic of sales, because we were talking about, I don't know who it was that brought it up on Twitter, saying that Mortal Kombat was like the 9th highest selling game of the month or something. And I was just like, okay, so what's the point in bringing this up? I don't understand. How does that help the game?
Absolutely. And it's that little brother complex that has them keep beating their chest in. Had Street Fighter or Tekken done this, the MK community would literally meme them, and that's supposed to be the good game. But when it's them, they gloss over it and say, hype, the game is saved, this cameo changes everything. Completely First, all these people that were defending the game were saying, wait till crossplay happens. Then when this happens, they glaze over it and they're back on Peacemaker and Janet Cage. It's unbelievable what happens. And I don't want to spend too much on time with this because I'm going to talk about this later on. But I just wanted to bring up when I was going through the videos, none of this was weighing in on it until I found that one tournament organizer, Rip, who was like, I don't know what you guys are doing. This is disappointing.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he brought up, how games are not always made perfect, but how it is handled is important. And if you look at, their competitors, they handle things so much better. And then, of course, I said, well, let me wait until I get the patch notes, and see the new content. The patch notes are pretty much what they talked about, invasion stuff, whatever, change in practice mode stuff. And, they did, so now when a cameo is on the screen and being held on the screen, you can see that it's blue, so it's noticeable in the corner of your eye. And, while they were on this, there are a few things that I think they should do. When Gears, how many hourglasses does he have on the screen right now? You can lose focus and lose track when his thing is active, right? It needs to show on the screen 1, 2, or 3. Is the third hourglass active or not? Things that have cooldown, like long cooldowns or etc. Like how long before I can do them again? It's not like I don't think Eagly has his own cooldown thing on there, but he probably should. There are just things that should have a visual cue that don't. So I'm glad that they made it. They added things like the assist, so you can see when it's being held on screen, like when Jax is off screen and you can't tell that he's still there. But they need to do more with that. But when I went through the rest of the patch notes, I saw the thing with Kenshi, where you can now hit him while his ghost is being refreshed. You can still hit it during that process. How his ghost now takes damage. Very, very minor changes. Everything else with the game was bug fix this, fixed an issue. So balance-wise, they gave nothing to the way the characters and cameos work. And then I was looking at the new content, and that is where I truly became the most sick. Because when I'm looking at the new content, we had that situation where apparently, and you have a screenshot that shows it originally said Season of Chaos instead of Season of the Huntress. So first they uploaded the wrong season. Then all they did was changed how the text is displayed to Season of the Huntress, but they couldn't take the skins away then because then it's an obvious blunder. And whether it's Havoc or Melina, the problem is still the same. They are putting in... So this Combat League season was long. It was 60 days. Then it was even extended to be longer. And when it comes to roll out the new content, bare minimum they were working on, it is awful.
Terrible. Some of the worst I've ever seen.
And then I made an observation and I said, you know what I bet? I bet it's not even that it took them 30 minutes to do the whole season. I bet the new characters, the DLCs don't have Combat League skins. I bet you the Combat League and Invasion skins were done even before the game was launched. And all they do is say, upload palette colors 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Because it requires work to actually change the DLC character skins. They would actually have to go in and give them new skins. So the fact that they aren't means those skins aren't made already. So all they're doing is uploading color swaps, palette swaps that have already been put in the game, and they're just uploading it. So it's not that they're doing little effort. They're doing no effort from season to season. They are not even working on new content. They are uploading you garbage. And then I'm a Sub-Zero player. I saw the MK3 skin. So I went to look at it, and it looks like it looks like those YouTubers when you go out on the street and you paint clothes on instead of putting on real cloth to see who you can fool. Yeah. It looks like his clothes are painted on him. And then I brought it up.
It looks awful. Like I was looking and I was like, they didn't even bother. They didn't try at all. Did you see that there was that MK1 modder and he brought out the ninja skins and everything and they actually look really good. And then you look at what's coming for MK1 and
they look terrible.
It looks like Catwoman designed them or something. I don't know what they were thinking.
So they are not even put it there, not even trying. They have got to the point where they are going to give you content, and the content they don't even try at all. They just give you garbage. And then the stuff they sell you, they don't even try. Like, all right, you want to sell me something? Okay, you're there to make money off of me. But to not even try, like they don't even try. Now, I'll give them some credit here. They did go in and change the bad artwork on the ice clone on the previous skin they charged me $10 for, so I will give them credit there. They finally did make good on that purchase. For those who bought it, you guys, the artwork on some of his specials have been fixed. But in general, it's like when I look at these skins and I looked at the ninja skins they're bringing out and the MK3 skin, they don't even look. It looks like an artist worked on them for 2 minutes, put it in the game, and they're charging you $6 for it. And it's the game has gotten to the point where they are not even trying. And it is I do not even want to hear about gameplay. For anyone out there who wants to talk about gameplay, you should be ashamed. Because it is bigger than the gameplay. The actual physical product of the game is terrible. Period.
But even if we talk about the gameplay, I went through the balance changes, and for me, I've seen people saying they like the MK1 gameplay, but I've also seen a lot of people saying that they don't. Even casual players that I've spoken to have said they switched over to Tekken because it's just a little bit boring. Like MK1's very easy to play, so anyone can really pick it up and do well at it. You don't really have to understand much. You can kind of figure stuff out very quickly. At least I went and figured out Shao Kahn very quickly, and I'm assuming most people can probably do the same. So I believe that, or I thought that, because they were taking so long, they extended the combat league to however many days. It was like 60 days or something. And I thought that they were making some real changes to the gameplay. Like, this is going to be something where it feels a little bit more fresh in this season, maybe wash away some of the bad taste in people's mouths that the previous season left behind. But then I went through the patch notes, and it's mostly just fixes. It's like, fix this, and we fix that, and we fix this. And I'm like, okay, cool. Fixes are fine because the game is buggy and glitchy. But there's no real changes. Like, I went to look at General Shao, who I was using, and it was literally fixed incorrect animation and fix some issue where the incorrect blood like pops up. And I was like, is that it? He's the same character. Nothing has really changed. Just like, it's just a bit disappointing.
Yeah, and to your point there, I thought maybe we wouldn't get too much for starters, right? Maybe they wouldn't touch for example, Sub-Zero still has 2 versions of the same move. He still has his EX Ice Clone, which is the exact same move. One takes 2 bars, which one command, and one takes 1 bar with the other command. They didn't even fix that. So you have the same move for 2 different resources.
That's terrible. That's terrible. Like you said, if they did that in like Tekken or something, they would never get away with something like that.
They would never get away. Imagine you could do electric by the hard command, but then you could just hit like forward, and the button, and you get an electric. And they never fixed it.
Yeah.
You know, like they would get massacred for it. I thought maybe we would get some tweaks. I thought maybe the characters might not get touched, but at least maybe the cameos. They would really step up the cameos, right? And then kind of see, okay, the cameos have really been steroided up. Now let's see how they're being used, and we can get an accurate image as to what we should do with the characters behind what the cameos are now doing, right? So I thought people would understand that, okay, you don't want to buff them both at the same time since your plan is to steroid buff them. Kind of see how the cameos are being used, and then, okay, now we can have the characters do this and this and this. And maybe I think that would bring a lot of people back to the game. And we would have hope that, okay, now we're looking forward to some character adjustments next. So people, what I think, would come back and play, and they would be excited to see the next adjustments to the characters, like whose character is going to get what. Now the game is really starting to get excited and maybe spiced up a little bit. And I'm also surprised because NRS does not seem to understand what a seasonal theme is. Any game that has a season has said season and has a restart because they have changed something within the game, hence a restart, right? It is no longer the same game. NRS recycles the same garbage content and the game does not change at all, and they do a restart and call it a new season. And it's just the same thing repeated over and over and over again. Everyone has said the game is boring, the game is repetitive, the game is extremely stale, and they are not changing it at all. They're fixing all these things, but what they don't fix is, for one, the netcode. If you go from playing Tekken 8 to Mortal Kombat 1, it is abysmal. You notice the difference, like, why does it take so long for my moves to come out? The netcode is not even, it's barely, I don't think this netcode is even good for last generation. And then, again, no practice mode in rank. Just the production of the game, like, there's no effort at all. Like Tekken, I go to log into ranked, and I noticed in my video I had to load up one skin for Sub-Zero. And now you can have them rotate randomly, but you know, since I was doing a video, I didn't want to load up until I got the skin I wanted, right? So I had to select the skin, and when I show the other skin I had to go back in and customize. And I thought, you know, they give you the option to randomize, but when you go in ranked, for one, you select your character, and there's no option for, like, you know, can I have customized the skins I want? You know, like maybe I just want 4 skins and I want to cycle through them manually, right? Like, which one do I want to pick? For one, you don't ever get to go back to the ranked menu in between matches. There's no practice mode in rank, still not addressed, not even talked about or hinted about. And I'm just King of the Hill, still the same way, still the same stability issues. So they didn't really help at all in that aspect. And then when you log into Tekken, it's like, wow, I go into ranked, my big, massive, great production character select screen comes up. I pick my character. I go into ranked. From ranked, at any time in between queuing, I can decide, you know, I just played 4 sets as this character. I want to go ahead and try Jack and switch to Jack right there while I'm already loaded in ranked, through not even the main menu, the main character select menu, from a quick drop select menu, and I can also choose my skins, etc. The production value is so much greater. But then I looked at the prices, and I'm like, NRS literally, like I said in my video, sold you a car in which you have roll down windows, no power locks, no power anything, bare bones AM/FM radio, plush seats, etc. And they sold it to you for the same price as if you had the power locks, power windows, every possible feature, leather seats, chrome wheels. They sold you the bare bones model for the top price of the market.
Yeah, I also think that the way that the costumes are designed, like the you know, the whole mohawk thing they've got going on now,
Yes,
and just the general aesthetic of the characters, to me, it's become like blatantly obvious that they are designing characters based on what they like. They're not listening to what the consumers are after. It's very clear what the Mortal Kombat base likes, and it's very clear. It was very obvious to me when I saw it what the reaction was going to be, even before I made my video. Like I said in the video, I came up with it on the spot that the characters look like an edgy bowl of salad. They look like they are trying to be edgelords, and it's just not Mortal Kombat. And it makes me think that the people they've employed there, they probably think a certain way and believe certain things, and it kind of spills into the characters, the choices, and the general design of the game. And it's becoming more and more evident. When I look at Mortal Kombat 1, it does not look like Mortal Kombat to me. Mortal Kombat 11 sort of removed itself a little bit, but it was still Mortal Kombat. Like, the general aesthetic, I was like, it's still MK, even though I don't like the game. MKX and MK9, to me, those are aesthetically very nice looking Mortal Kombat games. But Mortal Kombat 1, it feels like its soul has literally been ripped out of it. It doesn't feel like a Mortal Kombat game, and those skins made it so much worse. And it's very, very obvious that they are designing things based on
and the skins aren't even nicely done. Not only are they terrible skin, they're not even well designed.
They're awful. It looks like someone got a bucket of paint and just threw it at the characters, and some of them have mohawks. And what I didn't understand either was, not that I want more of this garbage in the game, but they didn't seem evenly distributed. So like Scorpion and Sub-Zero would have like 6, and then Nitara or Tanya or whatever would have like 1 or 2, and I was like, wait, like why is it not evenly distributed? Like, okay, you created garbage, but you didn't even spread the garbage evenly.
That's true. I noticed that as well, and I'm like, why do some characters have the normal palette swaps and then mohawks and others don't?
Yeah,
it made no sense to me. It looked like they just said, okay, well, we have these designs for these characters, so we'll just throw those in just because they're already made. You know, like
They gave it to Johnny as well. I couldn't believe it. I saw Johnny Cage and I actually almost fell out of my chair.
and it's like I said, it's not even well done. They just and aesthetically, and I don't understand how anybody can say, "Oh, we know the game looks amazing." What are you looking at? This game looks like garbage. This
Yeah.
game does not even look like it's a PS5 quality game.
You know
That
what the problem is that people look at this. The standard of video games today is that most games look very nice, even the ones that are not of AAA quality. They still look really nice. Like if you're talking about like the way light reflects off of stages or how characters interact with things. And when you look at Mortal Kombat in the story mode, because of the way it animates, it looks nice. But if you actually look at it, like you look at the game and how they've designed it and what it's supposed to be, and what kind of aesthetic it's supposed to be fit around, it's actual trash. Like Tekken nailed its aesthetic. When you look at the final stage where Jin and Kazuya were fighting, that is perfect. Like there's lightning, there's rain. The aesthetic matches the theme that they were going for. But when you look at Mortal Kombat 1 and you listen to the music, you're just like, you're really trying hard to be something that you're not, and it's not working. It just feels completely devoid of soul.
yeah, they have taken Mortal Kombat out of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
It they've basically taken Mortal Kombat and made it corporate. I'm going to give an analogy here. You probably don't know it because it's about American baseball, and the younger kids won't know it, but the older people will. So the Yankees Red Sox rivalry in baseball, it's a big thing.
I've heard of that, yeah.
There's a player for the Red Sox, Johnny Damon, right? He was basically was done like Jesus, the long hair, the beard, right? And then when he went to New York, he shaved his beard, cut his hair super short, and then slicked it back like a corporate haircut, right? Because that's the Yankees, right? It looked
Yeah.
like he went corporate. Mortal Kombat has done that. They have taken the soul out of their game. They have gone corporate. And the production value says it's, but still, in the guys in the alley next to the homeless guy. But they have taken
Yeah.
they have taken all the life out of their game, and
It's almost unrecognizable when you look at
it's
the
terrible.
original digital games and then you look at the one that we have today. Yeah, it looks more pretty because it's on Unreal Engine 5 or whatever, but it's not Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat to me when I was growing up was always like it was almost like this crossover into horror sometimes with the way stages looked, and it was all about like souls and the flesh pits and whatever. But in this one, it's all I get that they went back to another timeline and there's no war that's really broken up, but I feel like they took a bad direction with the story and it led them to creating the stages the way they did and the characters the way they did. They could have gone a completely different route. But like you said, they're getting paid, so they're getting double the money for half the effort.
Yeah, and to your point, if you want to go to MK9, for example, you have a stage, the train station, right? That classic feel. The trains are coming by. You hear the announcement over the loudspeaker, right? The character, the newspapers are sweeping across. There's interaction with the stage, the characters, and that was a game that came out in 2011.
Yeah.
And I I am just shocked at just the overall production value of this game and how it doesn't even look like a modern game. The soul of the game is completely gone, which leads me to the point of, how this happened. Because when I go on Twitter or I go on YouTube, and I put this in one of my videos when I was looking for the comments, it's all positive. Like there are the smaller content creators like you or myself. Smaller meaning we don't have 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, right? 300, 500,000. All of those guys are like, this is hype. This is amazing. This is unbelievable. This is sick. This game is saved.
I think Dynasty is one that has pointed out that it's pretty crap though. I think he's probably one of the bigger content creators for Mortal
True.
Kombat. I think he was like, this is garbage.
Yeah.
But he's been getting onto Mortal Kombat for a while and he's got quite a like large reach. I think people just tune in to watch him now. But he was one of the people that were ripping into. It was one of the first people I saw ripping into, and I'm pretty sure I saw him upload a video saying that he's ripping into this one as well.
I did see that one. It's about the skins. And the reason why this keeps happening is because people continue to allow NRS to get away with it.
Yeah.
Despite everything that was, again, I want to remind you guys, not only did they botch crossplay, not only did they completely botch the combat cast as far as like what are they doing? They did address nothing changed. They then uploaded the wrong season.
That's unbelievable. I cannot believe they did that. They had one job and they couldn't even do that properly.
It's now to the point where what's happening is obviously incompetence. It's got nothing to do with Warner Brothers. And yet people will still defend the product. And if it was the Tekken community or the Street Fighter community, they would never stand for this. Somehow the NRS community, and this is why things never change.
Most communities
they
will
would not stand for this. But the NRS community will accept shit, will allow you to consistently crap on them, and then tell you you did a great job and this is the most hype thing they've ever seen and you have saved your game. It is unbelievable. Until that changes, nothing will ever change. Nothing will change for the life of this game, and the next game will come out even worse than the game we have now, and that's almost impossible to believe.
Dude, it's like back in the day, you had the Monday Night Wars with WWE and WCW, and some people, when I'd go to school, because I was in starting out secondary school in the UK when those were going on, and I remember like there would be a lot of people, no matter how bad the product got on WCW, they were just WCW diehards, and they were going to die with the company, no matter what you said to them. And that's the same thing that we're seeing with Mortal Kombat. Ed Boon could literally tell them what's selling you shit, and they will eat it up. And I just don't understand why, because if they love the game so much, you should be sending your criticism to them so they know and understand, because on some level, this must upset Ed Boon a little bit. Even if he's a millionaire, even if he's sitting on his yacht or whatever he's doing, Mortal Kombat's his baby. And to hear people shitting all over it, I would think that I would want to make it better, even if I am rich. You know, this is like something that he's going to be remembered for. Mortal Kombat's always going to be attached to his name. So I just don't understand why he is. I don't know if he's allowed it, but it's very clear that there's a certain type of people that have gotten their hands on Mortal Kombat and they've pushed it in a direction that satisfies them and not the wider community, despite the sales.
You would think that Ed Boon would hear the word of mouth. And I understand if you go on YouTube and look up Peacemaker, Combat Cast, or whatever, besides someone like you or me or maybe Dynasty or someone like that, it's going to be, or even Fate to some extent, it's going to be absolutely awful, you know, because we're going to give the honest truth. But the rest of them are like, this is hype, this is great. It's like, you as a community, you are literally giving the wrong feedback to NetherRealm. You are telling them what they are doing is right, and that the people that are speaking out are just haters. They're never going to be happy. You're sending the wrong message. Your game will never change, and it's your fault. Like you just have to it's like having that friend where if you continuously tell him that he's going in the right direction by just throwing his life in the toilet, where is he going to be, right? So you tell him, look, you screw everything up because you want to help him. It's time to tell NetherRealm Studios, your product is awful. And you would think Ed Boon would still try to pay attention to the majority of the people are saying, which is mostly negative, because, like you said, his name is attached to it. And you would think he would want to know, why is this happening? Like call a meeting or something and saying, why is this happening? What can we do to get back here? And it's like they just keep going in this. There's no way Ed Boon, if I sat Ed Boon down and showed him the skins that we have to pay for now, there's no way he would look at this and say that's acceptable. I refuse. I can't believe that. And if anyone there thinks that, then, I mean, you've met an idea that said, you know what, maybe somebody else should buy it.
Yeah, I think it's time for, you know, like sometimes people lose touch with things. And I know that like one of the criticisms that I've had with my content is that, oh, you know, you're saying all these things about Mortal Kombat and you're not offering suggestions. Now, I actually did offer suggestions. It's just that when I did offer the suggestions, it was before my channel started getting the attention it did now. So maybe a lot of people haven't seen it, but I could go over like an hour's worth of things that you can change just with Mortal Kombat. Not things that I want from Mortal Kombat, just things you can change to Mortal Kombat.
Give me a
I mean,
quick
even
TLDR. Like if you had to just quickly sum it up, not everything in detail, but just things to get the game to a point where you would say it's at least a product that I feel like was worth the money I paid.
well, to start with, I believe that, and I don't want to talk about like desync and all that because those are all very, very obvious things. If we just talk about the gameplay itself, right? The gameplay's been criticized for not being nuanced or complex. And what's the one thing that Mortal Kombat is missing that almost every other fighting game has?
Mortal Kombat. Oh, there's a million things. So I'm not sure. You could
That's
go.
true, actually. There's a million
Yeah.
things. Well, Mortal Kombat doesn't really have a counter hit system, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't really have a real counter hit system. They had the crushing blows in Mortal Kombat 11, but I would argue that's not an actual counter hit system. It's just a weird gimmick for
It's
Mortal
a
Kombat.
one-off. Yeah.
Yeah, counter hit systems in fighting games are extremely important, and that's why almost every single one of them, including arena fighters, not all of them, but some arena fighters have it as well. Mortal Kombat is completely lacking in that. That's one thing that I would change straight away. That I would implement. I would implement counter hit properties. Just off the top of my head, we've spoken about it before, but I would change the properties around fireballs so that it gives a bit more nuance to the fireball wars. Especially because Mortal Kombat has a fireball system that is quite unique to the other competitors, and so you could do something quite interesting with it. But even at a base level, just add hit points to it and have them clash. I would also change the guessing game in throws. I would remove the guessing game because then you employ more skill. People are more willing to invest in a game where they don't feel like they've been constantly cheated. I would change a lot of the properties around cameos because unfortunately it feels like there are a few cameos that do everything. And then there's some where it's like, well, they kind of do this thing that the other cameo does, so why would I even bother using them? So there's no real way to express yourself with your cameos. And I know I've seen some players saying, oh, well, I spoke to Sikander and I didn't push back on it because I wanted to give him an opportunity to really just speak and say what he thinks about Mortal Kombat because the people on my channel know what I think. But he said that when he plays Sub Zero and then he picks another cameo, it completely changes the way it plays. But I would argue that there's a roster of cameos and he's picking a select few that maybe change, but the majority of them, I would say, are probably doing the same thing that the ones that he's picking are. They're just doing it to a lesser extent. So you change the cameo system as well because unfortunately we don't have tag. It's not going to come for MK1 as much as people have been saying that tag mode is in some sort of leak. I think that's bullshit. I think we're stuck with cameos and that's it. So you would add some nuance to the cameos. And I think, like, for the life of me, I don't understand why the fatal blow system works in the fashion that it does. I think that you should remove the ability to continuously have it on the screen because what happens is in Tekken, you've got Rage Arts, right? When you get to the end of the round, you can use your Rage Art. But if you miss it, it's gone. But in MK, the unfortunate reality is that someone could do it and it's got quite a bit of pushback on it. And then they miss it and then they get another opportunity to do it. So the game plan starts to revolve around finding ways to not get hit by the fatal blow instead of enjoying the actual complexities of the game if it had any. So like I've got like 10 off the top of my head, but I don't want to make it I don't want to make this whole thing about changes to the gameplay. But even outside of gameplay, general fixes to the way the game works would be really nice, like quality of life things. Even when we were watching the Tekken talk, and they did that little thing where they were like, "Oh, we added a button here to make this easier for Steam players to leave the game." Just little things like that, where Mortal Kombat doesn't even bother. I mean, obviously, I would have added King of the Hill to the crossplay situation, and the customization. I would have put more effort in than that, not just here's a couple palette swaps and that's it. So I could be here all day going over changes to MK1 without even getting into like real in-depth discussion. I could literally be here for an hour.
I think a good point that I just want to touch on, so I don't have much time left. The counter hit system is huge. It adds such depth to a game because you could have a move which otherwise seems like harmless, right? And I would say this is the number one reason why people who are just have the new style of Mortal Kombat ingrained in their brain go to Tekken and struggle at first.
Yeah.
Because there are moves in Tekken that can be a slap on the wrist until there's a counter hit. And then it becomes devastating. And Mortal Kombat players are very, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. That's how they are. And Tekken's Leo's down forward 2+3 is a great, it's a low. A normal hit, it puts you in a bad situation, but it's not, but it's low. that jails in a certain while standing attacks, that gives great advantage, that on counter hits going to combo, and it's not launch punishable unless you're king, and then he can crouch throw you, and then it becomes like a good punish.
Yeah.
Tekken has got moves where people that are like, I don't care, I'm gonna check you every time. I'm not gonna respect you. I'm not gonna be conditioned. Okay, well if you're gonna do that, I'm just gonna kill you right here, right? And
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat is missing that. There are moves in the game right now that don't seem very good, which if they were a devastating counter hit attached to them would make significantly more sense, right? Oh, well, this is the reason why they don't want you throwing this move out 24/7 because this is what happens when it's a counter hit. None of that happens. They put restrictions on moves without really any good justification whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it just that alone would add if they added a counter hits even into this game, people would be intrigued by it. And they just continue to keep things bland. And I agree with you about the cameos and everything, but
It's just mindless nonsense. Like it's absolutely just like there was a situation with my brother yesterday where he was really struggling against Horang players. And he came into my room and he was like, Mike, I don't get what I'm supposed to do. So I went over to his bedroom and I was like, go into the replay system and I'll show you what to do. And within 2 seconds, he had figured out how to deal with this move that he didn't understand. Mortal Kombat doesn't have a system like that.
Can we bring that up as well? A replay system in which you can take control of your character and then find out what you could have done about the move that's hitting you.
Yeah, and like that, in an instant, he was like, oh, I could duck and hop kick. And I was like, yeah, that's all you got to do. And then he discovered, oh, I could actually do a counter move here as well. But in Mortal Kombat, I mean, not that it's really, it's not that it has any complexities to even warrant a replay feature at this point. They would need to build an actual system that makes it so that I need to go and actually lab things. But there are definitely things where, like, Johnny Cage's pressure, for example, in the corner, or when he's just staggering constantly, it's just like, this is not nuanced or difficult. It's really piss easy. It's overwhelming and it's frustrating. The thing that stands out to me the most with Mortal Kombat is that Mortal Kombat is just frustrating, whereas Tekken is frustrating, but I'm like, there's probably a way out there. Let me go and check something. And because Tekken has so many systems in place and so many checks and balances, there usually is a way out. It's very rare that you'll get a move where you're like, I was actually just screwed there. There was nothing I could do. With Mortal Kombat, there are plenty of situations, especially because Chip can just kill you in this game, that you're in a situation where like, there's nothing I can do here. It's game over, and it's all well and good when you're the aggressor, but when you're the person dealing with it, you feel like you've been cheated, and that's one thing that I cannot stand in Mortal Kombat. And I've felt like that since MK9, and it's just progressively gotten worse because the games have stripped away more and more, but allowed you to do dumb shit as the aggressor.
Yeah, and for those who say, well, it's an assist game, so there are things like that in there, fair point, so be it. But I guess when you have a situation like Johnny Cage doing 1-1, 1-1, and then you're like, okay, I'm now going to, or stand to, and you're like, okay, I'm going to be patient here. I'm not going to challenge and wait for his knee. Then he does knee, and you're like, but is he going to do the whole string or a single hit? And then he could stagger the knee, or he does the whole string into assist. He's still plus, right? And then and then you're stuck back in it. And that's fine. If you want, that's how assist games are, that's fine. But it is few and far between characters that can enforce their situation to that extent. So it's not even as typical assist games where it's in a game of situations. It's a game in which 2 or 3 characters have situations. The rest of them are completely generic and certainly not even close to as powerful. It just makes the game get extremely boring because it's simple. And at least if it was my situation versus your situation, it would be a little more entertaining. At least it would be a party game, right? It's not even that. It's a game where 2 people or 3 people or 4 are having a party and the rest are just sleeping. That's pretty much what the game is right now.
Well, if it's an assist game, where's the push block? If it's an assist game, why do I not have push block? Why am I in the corner just dealing with bullshit? Surely if you've added an assist to a one-on-one game, you add assist mechanics. If the argument is, well, it's an assist game, well, my argument is, where's the assist mechanics then? Well, they're it's devoid. This is what I say to people all the time. You can like Mortal Kombat if you want, but let's not pretend that this game is a complex game or that it's well polished. It's not. They added in cameos, but it's still kind of MK11 because it's still kind of a one-on-one fighting game.
It's MK11 plus.
Yeah, there's no push block, and there's other systems that are in assist games that are not present in this. So I don't entertain people that are like, well, it's an assist game, because most assist mechanics are not in this game. So
They are not. No, it's something to where once again they build a half-ass game, and this is again, and this is what I'm going to hit on before we close here soon, is that when people blame Warner Brothers, you must understand Warner Brothers does not tell them how to build a game. The reason why these games keep coming out like this is, again, not to beat a dead horse. It takes them 2 years of the 2.5 year window to build the basic foundation of the game, characters and moves. Then they have only a few months to slap together how do the characters play, how do the cameos play, what type of content do we put in the game, do we give them any extra features, and that has to be within 4 to 6 months. So they literally just make the game, put everything in the game, but how it all functions and what you can do and the cool stuff you get, they slap that together. And that will never work. It has never worked. It will never work. And that's why the game is the way. And that's why it's simple. And I don't really think they can change the simple nature. We've said they can make it a party game, and they still don't. And if they think that they can take the slow route and ease changes in by the... I got a text today from Pig of the Hut who said after the Pro Series at the end of the year or in the summer, then they'll probably do a massive patch and overhaul everything. Too late. Nobody will care. It's over.
yeah,
It's
I
over.
doubt it. I doubt they'll do. Why would they do it?
I
If
doubt
they're
it.
selling, why would they?
Why exactly? That's my whole point. Because no matter what, people don't realize even if Street Fighter 6 overtakes them, as well as Tekken 8, they don't care. Warner Brothers is not in business. NRS doesn't get paid bonuses on are they the best-selling fighting game. They get paid bonuses on if they hit certain profit points, right? And as long as they hit them, even if their competitors surpass them, they're still happy. They made money. Someone that makes $1 billion does not care if someone else made $1.5 billion. They do care, but they still made $1 billion. They are not discouraged. So that I think is where Mortal Kombat is. It's in a place where no matter what, and this is the worst part, they all know, and everyone there knows, that no matter what they do, their community will still eat it, will still make excuses for them, and worst of all, will still pay for it. They did the skins they gave you to pay for. You guys should feel offended, and yet you'll talk about how hype it is. Aside from someone like Dynasty or maybe Fate or someone like that. Just if you guys want better, they have to demand better. They have to demand better.
I always say to people that the only way this is ever going to change is if people vote with their wallets. So like, I really enjoyed playing General Shao. I love playing with Scorpion, but I don't care if they put a Ghost Rider skin in for Scorpion and they put an M. Bison skin in for General Shao. I'm just not going to buy anything that they put on there until they provide us with a base product that is solid. Even if they overhaul the game now, I'm not going to invest in it, because this King of the Hill thing, I was a bit shocked, to be honest with you, that was glazed over. It's been 60 days of basic radio silence, and King of the Hill was left off the chopping block. And then to get these skins on top of it, I was like, you know what? Screw these guys, man. Gut the team, gut everyone that's working there, bring someone in new, or sell it off to a Japanese developer and let them deal with it. Like, sell it off to the guys that do Elden Ring and just repurpose everything.
100%. I think, unfortunately, until something changes within how the scene, goes after them, I think they'll continue. As long as they can make this kind of money, because as long as they're making this kind of money, everybody there gets their bonus. The people at Warner Brothers get their bonus. And they're going to keep rolling their games out like this until finally it actually affects them financially. And then somebody will say, all right, it's time to change. But until then, it will never change. No business has ever changed any model as long as they are profiting hand over fist.
Yeah. Well, I think in terms of gameplay, I think we should definitely do a discussion on that, because I'm going to do a video breaking down what I would like to see, just for the sake of the people that have subscribed to me, because they are asking.
Sure.
And then maybe me and you can discuss it, because we might have disagreements and we might be able to find the middle ground or something that's more interesting than what we've got right now.
Sure, I'll probably do a video the same, and I guess I know you have to go, but we can kind of watch that and kind of break down where we are as far as whatever, and I think it'll be a good discussion.
Yeah, definitely. I've got to shoot off now, but we'll definitely do that.
All right, well, thanks for joining me, guys. Stay tuned for that video when we go ahead and do it, and thanks for joining me, Mike.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me. Take care, guys.
Take care.